Imagine someone sneaks into your home at night and moves everything 1 centimeter. In the morning, it all looks almost the same, but something feels off. And when you say so out loud, you're told, nothing changed. You're imagining it. You do this for a week, a month, a year. At some point, you stop trusting your own eyes. Not because you're stupid, but because you've been told day after day that your reality is wrong. That's gaslighting. And today I'll show you exactly how it works. Because it's the most insidious form of manipulation there is, precisely because it leaves no marks. It doesn't hit you. It rewrites your mind. And I'll promise you something. By the end, you'll have a detector. You'll recognize gaslighting from the first sentence, and that changes everything. Because a trick you can see no longer works. The word comes from a 1938 play. A husband wants to convince his wife she's mad, so every evening he dims the gas lamps a little. She notices it's darker. He says calmly, "No, it's exactly the same. You're imagining it." Repeated enough, and she comes to believe her own mind deceives her. That's the whole trick. You don't change a person's reality. You convince them their perception is faulty. And it works because we have a desperate need to be right about what we see. The gaslighter exploits exactly that instinct. Anna is a clear-headed woman, an accountant, someone who makes a living, noticing when numbers don't add up. And yet, in her relationship, she began to feel something didn't add up, without being able to put her finger on what. Her partner would say one thing, then a week later swear he'd said the opposite. They'd agree on something, then he'd deny ever agreeing. At first, Anna thought she was the one forgetting. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I'm tired. Psychologist Robin Stern calls this the first stage of gaslighting, disbelief. You haven't given up yet. You feel something's wrong, but you find excuses for him and against yourself. This is when the manipulation is easiest to stop, and it's also when almost no one stops it. Because it seems too small to be a problem. One sentence, a misunderstanding. Who makes a scene over that? At some point, Anna started writing things down. Messages, dates, what was said and when. She was gathering evidence, like a lawyer building a case. She wanted to prove, just once, that she was right. That's the second stage. Defense. You fight. You bring arguments, evidence, examples. But here's the trap, and it's diabolical. The ground keeps shifting under you. You bring proof, the gaslighter reinterprets it. You quote exactly what he said. He says you took it out of context, that you're too sensitive, that why do you keep score like a crazy person? The classic arsenal comes out. Denial, I never said that. Minimizing. You're exaggerating, making a mountain out of a molehill. Blame shifting. Look what you make me say. And the most toxic of all, the attack on your sanity. Maybe you should talk to someone. You haven't been yourself lately. Notice the subtlety. They suggest you need help, precisely to make you believe you're the problem. And the more you fight, the more desperate you seem. Even to yourself. Anna ended up asking, why am I always the one making drama? She couldn't see that the drama was staged, so she'd look like the one staging it. There comes a day when you stop fighting. Not because you were convinced, but because you're exhausted. It's easier to accept his version than to keep waging a war that never ends. Robin Stern calls this stage depression. Anna started apologizing before she knew what for, asking him how something had actually happened. something she'd been present for. She'd outsourced her reality, handed it into someone else's custody. Her question was no longer, "Am I right?" but "What does he think happened?" That's gaslighting's final victory. He no longer has to convince you you're wrong. You convince yourself. His voice has become your voice. And here's the most important thing I want to tell you. If you've reached this point, it doesn't mean you're weak or gullible. Gaslighting works best on empathetic people who question their own reactions, who want to be fair. In other words, on good people. Someone who doesn't care about truth can't be convinced they have lost their mind because it doesn't interest them. Here's the good news I promised. Gaslighting needs only one thing to work: the isolation of your reality. As long as you're the only one perceiving your version, you're easy to unsettle. The moment you bring it in front of someone else, the spell breaks. First tool, write. Keep a simple journal with dates. Not to prove it to him. He'll reinterpret anyway. But to prove it to yourself. Written memory can't be gaslit. When you read in black and white what happened and when, your reality gains a witness. You from yesterday. Second, a third person, a friend, a family member, a therapist. Someone outside the relationship who sees what you can no longer see from inside. Gaslighting doesn't survive the light of an outside witness. Third, and most freeing, you don't have to win the argument to be right. That's the trap Anna sat in for years. She believed that if she found the perfect argument, he'd admit it. But the gaslighter isn't seeking truth. He's seeking control. You'll never win a debate with someone playing a different game. Freedom doesn't come from convincing him. It comes from believing yourself, even if he never confirms it. Robert Leahy, who studies how thought patterns are rebuilt, describes the return of trust in your own judgment as something that can be trained step by step. Self-trust isn't a fixed trait. It's a muscle, and it can be rebuilt. Anna got out. Not through a one argument. There was never one. She got out the day she showed her journal to a friend. And the friend said simply, "You're not crazy." It happened exactly as you wrote it. 3 words, "You're not crazy," did what months of arguments hadn't. They gave her reality back. If you recognized yourself somewhere in Anna's story, or recognize someone you love, remember the detector. Someone who constantly denies your perception, who always makes you feel too sensitive, who rewrites what happened and leaves you doubting your own mind, doesn't love you more than the truth. They control you. And self-trust, once lost, can be regained. It starts with a single written sentence, or a single person in front of whom you say what you really see. Tell me in the comments, have you ever heard the phrase, "You're imagining it," "You're overreacting"? And if this clarified something, pass it on. It might reach someone who, right now, is doubting their own mind. Subscribe. Every week we talk about things that genuinely matter. See you next episode.